And now that wasn't the only policy that you have that was crafted at your policy conference. A couple of other important things. You've been outspoken, for example, on immigration. So what is the Action SA policy on immigration?
Well, very clear, in line with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, where we recognize that this country was built at the back of migrants over the last, 400 odd years or so. We want to continue on that route of encouraging people of the world to come to this beautiful country of ours. They can come on holiday, they can come and live here, they can come and operate their businesses. However, what we are saying is, please come to our country legally, and when you are here, respect our laws. You come here with your criminal intent, Mike, we're not going to hesitate sending you back where you came from.
Yes.
We're not going to really play those type of games. We cannot afford to really get people to come and destroy our youth, and in the process destroy our nations, bring in drugs into this country. We are not going to allow anyone to come into this country, bring in counterfeit goods, expired goods. You bring billions of counterfeit goods, expired goods, bring them into this country, you don't pay taxes. Every business in this country will be registered. There's not under Action SA, there's not going to be any business that is not going to be registered with the receiver of revenue. Very important, so that we can get the money to really be able to build the infrastructure. That is something that is not going to really be negotiable. So foreign nationals are most welcome. This is the best country in terms of tourism anywhere in the world. We've got the best weather in the world throughout the year. More especially, you take a place like here in Gauteng. I mean, there's no weather. Show me any country that has got the best weather than here in Gauteng. Other places, they have seasonal good weather conditions. Here in Gauteng, you can play golf 365 days in a year. Beautiful landscape and everything like that. So we want people of the world to come to South Africa. We're sitting with trillions worth of factories that are lying empty. And these are factories built, 40, 50 years ago by world standards. These are new factories. We're going to give them to the private sector on a long-term basis, depending how much money they're going to be spending in refurbishment, how many people they're going to be employing. We'll give them massive tax breaks because, let's say if you go and open a factory in Amanskraal, you've got to invest the 5 billion rands, and you employ 1,000 people in Amanskraal. What's wrong with me as government to say, here's a factory, you refurbish at your own cost. Depending on how much you're going to invest, we'll work out to say, look, for the next 10 years or so, just as an example, you don't have to pay tax. But you're employing people earning 8,000 to 100,000 rands a month. We want, as Action SA, I want people to really judge us on the number of people we take them out of state dependency, out of this social grant system. So today we've got 18, 19 million South Africans on social grant, plus another 10, 15 million getting the 350. When we take over, if people of South Africa give us the mandate to be government, what you must judge us on is how many people we're going to take them out of this dependency. We will only have to remain with old people who are dependent on social grant. The others will have a dignity of work, because work is not just really the money that you get out of working. It's the dignity. The reason why our youth are vulnerable and susceptible to drugs is because they've got parents they can't respect, because parents who've not worked and be able to provide for their families. So judge us not what the president is happy to say, 29 people are fed by the state. No, it's a total failure. It's a disaster. What you do we will absolutely, when we take over, we will obviously honor the commitment that this government has made. But I can tell you, every year, judges were taking 3 million people out of the system that they are able to really provide for themselves and their family and have the dignity of work where their children can actually respect them as parents who provide for them.
So let's just imagine for a minute, right? We can dream. You win the election in 2024. You're going to be stuck with a massive amount of corruption that exists at the moment, right? What would be your plan to work with that corruption?
Well, I think if you look at the document, one of the policies that we put, and we put a lot of emphasis on, is the rule of law.
Because corruption is a rule of law issue,
yeah,
isn't it?
It's a rule of law issue. Can tell you we'll have specialized units, independent of political interference, to deal with corruption, to deal with murder. Always remind people, I grew up in this country where we had Brixton Murder and Robbery Squad. You remember those days? If the Brixton Murder and Robbery Squad were looking after you, you know they're going to get you. We need to re-establish those units. We've got to have special units to deal with rapists. I don't want to live in a country where we're the rape capital of the world, including now the corruption. And one thing for sure, what we are seeing as Action SA is that prison is going to be prison. It's not going to be correctional services for these people who are destroying our nation. You're going to pay back to society. I'm sure you must have read in the media how I was defeated, because I believed very strongly that you can't fix this country without bringing back the death penalty. But when I started engaging my team, they put forward a very compelling case against the death penalty. They said, Herman, you bring back the death penalty, firstly, you're going to have a problem. You're going to end up actually killing poor people because they're not going to have legal representation. Secondly, and also more seriously, is that the current government over the last 29 years, they've destroyed the criminal justice system. Our prosecutors, our detectives, and some of our people in the judiciary, you cannot trust them. So this, unfortunately, we cannot kill people in an abnormal environment like that. But we agreed that in the event, Mike, you kill someone in this country and the courts find you guilty, and they give you life sentence, it's going to be life sentence with hard labor. You're going to work and pay back society. We take your right to vote, because we cannot understand how normal human beings, ethical people, can expect their political life be determined by criminals, by criminals who have destroyed our own lives. So we'll take away the writing votes of certain categories of crime. Those who are saving the life sentence, saving long jail terms, who have really harmed society, they will never give them the right to vote. And the corruption, we'll put together a team. We'll work with other international agencies to help us as a matter of agency to train our people and take our people to these agencies, so that we must be better than even the Scorpions, how it was before time. But obviously this cannot really happen overnight. You won't be able to deal with this overnight. But we can begin the process. And I strongly believe if we are prepared to take tough decisions. And one thing, fortunate enough, I was born not to be afraid of taking tough decisions. I'm not the kind of person that takes decisions to really please Mike. No, I take decisions that are in the best interest of society, because the decision that I take, the work I do, Mike, every decision I take in a political environment, I take it on behalf of 60 million people. So I must take my own personal interest and feelings out of this, and really be able to take, when I take a decision, it must be a decision that is in the interest of the 60 million South Africans. Okay,
so let's talk about some of the things that really affect people, socially. You spoke about dignity. These are issues that fall squarely in the realm of dignity. Let's start off with education, right? Because every parent wants to educate their children, and at the moment our schools are not performing very well.
Not well, they're a disaster. 80% of public schools are dysfunctional.
Right.
Let's call it what it is.
Okay, so they're dysfunctional. How is our Action SA government going to deal with education once you're in power?
First of all, we take SATU out of education. We will have one Department of Education to start with. One of our policy adoption was the fact that our cabinet will not have more than 20 cabinet ministers. The ministers. It will not have a single deputy minister. We don't need that unnecessary bureaucracy. So we'll have one Department of Education. We'll take SATU or any trade union to decide who's the principal of the school and the teachers. We will ensure that we bring back school inspectors, which the current government is not allowing school inspectors. Without any doubt, for us as Action SA, is not negotiable. Once we take over with the department, the Minister of Education must, with immediate effect, make sure that all the schools are actually led by ethical, committed school principals in conjunction working with the community. Because the community must also be happy with this kind of person that we are recommending for them as government, not as trade unions. And our school inspectors, they don't need anyone's permission to visit the schools at any point in time. We'll bring back all these retired teachers, retired at the age of 60 by this government, which retired people with experience. But you look at the new ones that are coming, they're coming out with a 30% pass rate. What we are saying now, we're going to really, I'm already personally making a request, an appeal to South Africans, anyone under the age of 75, please, we need your intervention. If you're a teacher or you're a policeman or woman and so forth, please come back and serve. We're looking for professional policemen and women. We're looking for school principals. We're looking for school inspectors. We want to really bring them back into the STEM. We want to invest, as part of the Opportunity Fund, we want to invest heavily in boarding schools, because a lot of our kids born in the last 29 years were young children as young as 10 years old. They're having children having children. So you can imagine that kind of normality that was allowed by this current evil government. We need to now invest in boarding schools where these kids can be taken out of this out of the current environment in which they live. Going to boarding schools run by proper ethical people. We have in every school, boarding school, even schools, there must be psychologists and so forth, because these kids were born and raised in a very abnormal environment. So it's not just really the teaching to learn, for them to teach them to know 1 + 1 is 2. You have to start really bringing their morals back and actually protect them from the ills of society under which they were born. While we're building the society, let's take these young kids out of this environment. So we want to invest in boarding schools. We want to invest in technical colleges where the kids who've, this government, they failed to provide them with proper education at early stage of their lives. By the time they reach 18, 17, 18, the type of education, they cannot go to universities. We said, please, we are opening the army. You're allowed on a voluntary basis. You can come and serve on a voluntary basis in the army for a year so that we can really prepare you. we must invest in technical colleges so that we can have bricklayers, carpenters, and so forth. Because we need to rebuild this country. We need those necessary skills. So this gives you a sense of how we intend tackling the education crisis we are facing right now.
So you mentioned building. At the moment, the government is a massive builder of houses, promising everybody a house. Does Action SA continue with that? Do you build? Are you going to have? Is the government going to be one big construction company?
Where's the money going to come from? I think if you want to provide immediate, proper accommodation to South Africans, poor ones for that matter, what you do, get the private sector to. Remember the inner city rejuvenation plan that introduced through council in the city of Johannesburg, where we were giving those buildings to the private sector to build affordable accommodation for our people, including students. That's a kind of an approach that we need to use so that we can speed up people not really living in these squatter camps. Use private sector, give them long leases and incentives to build affordable accommodation. Where this RDP system cannot work because government does not really have the money. Where I think and I believe we need to invest our money, it's on ensuring that we can subsidize public transport system. We need to really rebuild our rail network as a matter of agency, heavily subsidized for people to really be able to move around. Bus companies, guys going to bus companies so that you can transport our people. We subsidize so that people can really be able to really go to work and so forth. That's really where government must spend money on, not on things that that will delay everything. Government cannot really run construction companies. That's why Mike, I always tell people I'm a capitalist. I believe in the capitalist system because that's the only way we can take South Africa out of poverty.
Let's talk about obviously an issue that's very emotive in South Africa, and that's healthcare. We know that the ANC has been pushing the National Health Insurance. What would an Action SA government suggest on health?
Well, our view is that we need, as a matter of agency, ensure that, you see, when you employ people on the basis of merit, we need to employ people on the basis of merit and put money into healthcare, build more hospitals, build more clinics, because and allow the private sector, for those who can afford to really be in the private sector environment. But I can tell you, within 10, 15 years' time, you will see more people actually using public health care. Because one of the things that we've taken as Action SA is that all public officials, from the president up to all the executives, you cannot really have medical aid. You must use public. Anyone working for the state, if you want to go to a private hospital, we as government, we're not going to really be subsidizing healthcare. You go to public hospitals, public clinics. You know what will happen? People working for the Department of Health are going to ensure that these hospitals work, because human beings by nature, we're selfish. So if you know that for you to really go to Baragwanath Hospital and you are in charge of running Baragwanath Hospital, I can tell you that hospital is going to work.
Yeah.
But if you allow to subsidize people for private medical schemes, I'm telling you the system will not work. Because then the people who are going to drive this program, that means they don't believe in it. Why must I have to go to Russia or Cuba for medical treatment where they don't have medication themselves? I think we need to invest and make it law that all government employees government cannot subsidize medical aid. There's no reason. We'll quickly build hospitals and clinics so that, yes, you must get the attention. And train doctors as a matter of agency, and that can be achieved. But the system must be driven by people with personal interest behind it.
Yes. So the one thing that will happen the day after you get elected is that you will inherit a lot of generators that Patricia de Lille has given to cabinet ministers because Eskom is not working. So what would be your plan for electricity?
Well, electricity, what we've taken a decision, Eskom will operate, but it must operate purely on a commercial basis, put in the right people to run Eskom, like they run any other private company, run purely on commercial basis. And allow at the same time allow the private sector to also generate electricity and sell it in the market like Eskom. If Eskom cannot really compete, let it die a natural death. So that's really what we believe would really be the solution to dealing with this the crisis of electricity. Allow the private sector to play the same role as Eskom. If there are people prepared to invest in any sort of energy generation, allow them. If Eskom wants to compete with them, let them operate with them on a commercial basis.
Now, much of the policies that that Action SA has drafted would be very popular with some of the members of the international community, but quite unpopular with some of our newer friends.
Who are our newer friends?
In the BRICS countries.
We are not, South Africa is not about BRICS. South Africa, it's about South Africa. That's the reason just to really take you into our foreign policy.
Yes, please.
We've agreed that we will, as Action SA, we took a decision that will respect the membership of all the bodies, be BRICS, be G8 or whatever, African Union, United Nations. We must leave things as they are. We'll only take decisions once we're in government. Are these bodies actually saving the interest of South Africa? If not, we will pull out. We'll not really hesitate actually pulling out. We're making it abundantly clear. We want these bodies to really know that Action SA takes over. We will immediately get experts to really look at every body, international body we belong to. Is South Africa benefiting out of it? If not, we must immediately pull out.
Herman Mashaba, some very, very business-friendly policies came out of your policy conference, and I'm sure many people that have joined us today would love what you have said. Thank you so much for sharing some of your policies with us. I know we could carry on for a while to, if anybody liked what they heard, please have a look at Action SA's draft policies and
no,
website.
That is the draft. Now it's policies have been adopted and are already on our website with amendments, because we had the 3 days we had amendments because all the over 600 delegates were given an opportunity to come out with amendments. Some of them were accepted, some of them were rejected by the delegates.
But some great policy movements there by Action SA, and we wish you all the very best in your endeavours. Obviously, the party's still growing. You're putting together quite a branch network.
There's a branch being opened right now as I'm talking to you. There's a branch being opened somewhere in the country. We're confident minimum branches throughout the country will be 60%. All our provincial chairperson and our structures, all of them, they've got matching orders. We want, by the time we go to the conference, minimum, in the event of us not achieving branches, must be 60%.
You heard it from Herman Mashaba, leader of Action SA. Herman, thank you so much for sharing the outcome of your policy conference with us. To everybody that joined us today, we hope that you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to the channel so that we can continue to keep you updated with what's happening. We're in election season. That's why we're talking to so many of the political leaders. Herman, thank you so much. To everybody out there, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on the State of the Nation. Thank you.